Hey everybody, Brian here with another video. This will be a video listing and talking about some of the games that I beat in April 2019. So in March 2019, one of the first games that I beat was Star Tropics on the NES, a game I've always wanted to beat, played as a kid, rented, but never finished. So this month, uh, it only made sense that the first game that I beat would be Zoda's Revenge, Star Tropics 2. And this game is a very, very late release NES game. One of the last ones, I think, right before the last first party, next to the last first party Nintendo game that they actually released on the NES. Nintendo released. Actually, the last was Wario's Woods, I believe. And this is a very fun game. It's more of the same, except they changed. One major difference was the movement. When you jump now, you can control yourself so much easier in the air. Before, in the first Star Tropics, you had limited control of your jump, but the game was built around that, so it was fine. This one, they took that away, but they gave you more control, so you can actually be too precise and fall off of platforms if you're not careful. But I did like the change, but I didn't have a problem with the jumping in the first Star Tropics. So it's up to you if you like that or not. The other thing they changed is there's no recover time when you get hit. Usually, what I mean by that is, usually when you get hit in a game, you have a little blinking time where it allows you to get away without getting hit again. This one, the recover time is not there, or very, very, very small, so even the weakest enemies can kill you if you're not careful. So the story is a time-traveling story. You have this book, you say these magic words, and you go through the different times to find the tetrads, which are tetraminos, the little Tetris pieces, and then to get all those, and then you find out Zoda's back. He has like 3 Zodas. It's a neat story, but it's nothing great. And there's returning characters like your uncle and the girl that you save at the end, and the children at the end come back. Very fun game. Not as hard as the first one. Relatively long. I think it's 9 or 10 chapters, but nothing too long. And you go through different times, in England, ancient Egypt, Camelot. It's like a time-traveling story, and it's really fun. So happy to have finished the Star Tropics games. The first Genesis game I finished was Tiny Toon Adventures: Buster's Hidden Treasure. This is very much a platformer, straightforward. You have like a map, like Super Mario World, but there are levels with different exits, which when you finish a level, you'll have this guy right here. I forget his name. Right here. Whoop, this little guy right here. He will shake. He will be, when you finish a level, he'll pop up, and he'll shake his head if there's a hidden exit. So then you know to go in and get the hidden exit to get to a new path, to get to a new world. So this game is very, very good looking. Sounds great, plays great. It's just platformer, straightforward, just through and through. So you have this dashing ability where if you run, you build up speed, and you can slide. And when you slide with the B button, I believe it's B or A, you'll like skid, and you can take out enemies that way. So if you get really good at the levels, you can kind of speed through them really fast. You collect carrots, and every, I think, 50 or 100 carrots, you get a special helper from the game, which will kind of screen clear all the enemies. I didn't really use them a lot, but I kind of wish that the carrots gave you extra lives or something else. But that's kind of cool. So the whole thing is Montana Max is looking for this hidden treasure, and you find a map, he takes the map, and he's looking for the hidden treasure. And the characters that you fight in the game are like Dizzy Devil, Plucky Duck. They're like controlled with this helmet on their head, and you gotta kind of beat the guy that's controlling them, and then you save them. Relatively long platformer, about 30 stages. Straightforward, very fun, looks great, plays great. Great game. Buster's Hidden Treasure, Tiny Toons. the next Genesis game I beat was Sparkster, and this is a great game. It's the sequel to Rocket Knight Adventures, starring Sparkster, right there. So it picks up where the last one left off, I believe. There's like a cold open. What I mean is you start the game, and it's like a tutorial level where you have to lose, where you're fighting Axel Gear in the mech suit, like the Rock'em Sock'em Robot suit from the first game, and then the game starts from there. You lose, and then the game starts from there, and then this girl gets kidnapped. I forget her name, but so there's a little difference in this game in that I believe the jetpack has two kinds of charging. If you let it charge once, it's just a regular charge. If you let it charge again, it's like a spins corkscrew that you can use to unscrew certain parts of areas, like bosses, and get into certain areas. Like there's a certain boss on the first stage where you have to use the corkscrew to unscrew these bolts to beat the boss. And very fun game, looks great, quite challenging, took me a little bit to beat, not impossible, but very fun. Great game if you ever see it at Sparkster on the Genesis. And the first one, Rocket Knight Adventures on the Genesis, is great as well. And there's one for the SNES Spark called Sparkster 2. Sparkster as well, I should say. Next game I beat was Ristar on the Sega Genesis. This is a great game as well. Platformer, very colorful, sounds great. And basically you star this guy right here, this little guy. If his name's Ristar, I think it is, I'm not sure, I don't remember. But basically the mechanic of this game is you grab enemies and you hit them, you pull them in and you hit them with your head to defeat them. And you also can, like, you stretch your arms out to swing from area to area. So it's a grappling mechanic that you have to use to move around plus defeat enemies. Very fun game. Graphics are great, and I missed this game. Never played it until now. Very fun. And it's available, I think, on the a lot of compilation discs, like the Sonic and Sega All-Stars compilation on the Xbox and PlayStation 3, I think. And it's available other places as well. Now this game, I played a lot. This was probably one of the most played Genesis games I ever played as a kid, but I never beat it solo. I always beat it with a friend, and that's Streets of Rage 2. And this is a great game. Two-player cooperative or single player. You play as Axel, Skate, and Blaze. Blaze is the all-around. Axel's like, I think the strongest. Blaze is like faster. And then Skate's really fast, but he's weaker. I always play as Axel. I don't think I ever played much as Blaze. Oh, and there's Max, too. Max is like the big wrestler guy, like Mike Hagar. I'm sure you know a lot about Streets of Rage 2. You can play it on the 3D version on the 3DS is very good as well. And it's on a lot of compilation discs. I believe a few compilation discs, one or two for the PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 it might even be on, I'm not sure. But one of the pinnacle beat-em-ups from that generation, one of the best sounding ones for sure, by Yuzo Koshiro. He did the sound for this game, and it sounds amazing. Very nostalgic game, even though I didn't have a Genesis. I played it a lot at a friend's house. Quite challenging near the end. For me anyway, because I never beat it. I was down to like one of my last lives and I ended up beating it. But very fun game. Streets of Rage 2. Sounds great, looks great, plays great. Just a joy to play. Next we move on to probably one of my favorite Genesis games. And that's now that I beat it, and that's Contra Hardcore. And this game is Contra, but it's Contra with shorter levels, but in those levels there's more insane, crazy stuff happening, and it's like almost like the bosses are the big draw of this game. When you play this game, you will die a lot, but you will learn from those deaths, and you will learn, okay, here's the enemy here, I know where to go here, I know where to jump here, I know where to shoot here, and you will get better to the point where you can, to beat this game takes less and less time. It took me about a long time to beat this game. I think I started in March sometime. It took me till April, a month or so to beat it on one route, and I still haven't seen all the levels. But so I'm going to say it's my favorite Contra game because I do like the first Contra a lot, and I like Alien Wars, but this is by far one of the better Contra games, and I like the fact that there's still more I could play in this game. Like there's still stages I haven't beat or seen, and there's still characters I haven't beaten the game with, because I only beat it through with Ray, who's like the main Contra guy you see. He has a standard Contra weapon loadout with spread, homing, laser, and crash. You can also play as the Wolf, which I forget his name. He's more a close quarters fighter, but he does the most damage. But you have to get closer to the enemy to do it. There's also a little robot that has a double jump called Brownie. He has a smaller hitbox, and he has a double jump. He can float, kind of, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And he has a different 4 weapon sets. Then there's Sheena, who's the female Contra girl, who has a different weapon set. And so there's 4 different characters. They all have 4 different weapons, and you get like a crash exploding bomb too. So it's one-hit deaths. When you die, you lose all your weapons. You start where you're at, but you keep all your bombs. And you have 5 or 6 continues. So this game to play takes practice and memorization, but it's a lot of fun. I think this is probably, I haven't beat a lot of Sega Genesis games, but of the ones I beat, this is my favorite one by far. And quite a good game. Contra Hard Corps. Next we go on to Mega Man X. Now, I never played Mega Man X growing up. I did play it a little off and on in the 2000s, but never actually put the time in to beat it. So I actually beat this on the Super Nintendo Classic, not this cartridge here. This is actually the Majesco re-release, and if you don't know, Majesco re-released later in the SNES's life a lot of cartridges for the Genesis and Super Nintendo cheaper because they were printed in Mexico. So they had cheaper labels. If you see here, this isn't the nice glossy label, it's kind of a crappy label. And on the back there's no sticker, there's just this embeveled plastic that has letters. So this is my Mega Man X cartridge here, but I didn't beat it on this. I beat it on the Super Nintendo Classic when I was on vacation visiting my sister in Chicago. So the thing I can say about Mega Man X is it's very addictive, very fun, plays great, music's great, looks great, and it's very satisfying to move in the game. The dashing mechanic is very satisfying. The dashing and jumping, you get lots of distance, and jumping on walls is a joy to do. It's just fun to play, and that's the best thing I can say about it. So I do have Mega Man X2. I do want to play that next to beat it because I really enjoyed Mega Man X. Great game. So I'm looking forward to Mega Man X2. I've heard that it's better than the first one, so that'll be good to do play. Winding down here with my final 3 games. This game is for the NES is based on a movie I watched and liked growing up. I think I saw it recently, maybe a few years ago, and I still liked it. And it's Willow. This was I believe, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas scripts movie in the late 80s, early 90s, around there. So it follows the movie somewhat. It takes some liberties. So, for example, you find Mad Mardigan. He's not in a birdcage jail. He's just tied up with handcuffs in the forest. So you have to find a key to unlock him. Top-down Zelda-like combat, but different in the fact that when you first get a sword, you don't master it until you get to a certain level threshold. So you swing it very slowly at first, and then when you get a few levels in, you'll master it, and you can swing it as fast as you want. Your stats are all based on your equipment, so you have no strength until you get a better sword, and then you get stronger. No defense until you get a better shield, and then you get stronger. You have magic spells, like you get the acorns from the first one that turn people to stone, but they stun people. There's about 7 or 8 magic spells. There's like a fire one that has a ring of fire. There's a life spell that heals you that's very necessary. Very hard game. Very short, but to do what you want to do, you're going to have to level up a little bit, and you'll get lost. And the battle is very, excuse me, it's challenging, but never, it's very rewarding and fair. So when you die in a dungeon, you will go back to the last heal point. There's no saves, so there's only passwords. So how it works is you get a password. A password is generated for you when you go to an inn or a place where a character heals you, an NPC heals you. So at that point, it takes all your equipment and your highest level, your current level. So you say you go to the boss at the next cave. You go in a cave, fight in a cave, and you're at 999 experience until the next level. 999 experience of 1,000 experience to get to the next level. So you need 1 more experience points. If you die before getting that experience point, you can take a password and go back to where you were, but it won't take your experience down. So you'll be back to the highest level you were. So you'll lose all that experience. So it's kind of good to know that and level up. If you're close to a level, kind of grind to get it, and then go to a place to heal, and then get your password saved. So if you die, you can get that level. So, very fun game, looks great. When you get in battle, like all the backgrounds like animate, like the trees, like the grass and everything moves in the wind. Very fun game. Sounds great, looks great, plays great. Willow, NES, great game. Since I beat Streets of Rage 2, I wanted to play another beat 'em up, and that's this game here, Mighty Final Fight. So, I'm sure you've heard of Final Fight. It was an arcade game, and also the early Super Nintendo game also had 2 Super Nintendo only sequels, Final Fight 2 and 3. So obviously they can't do big, huge graphic sprites and all the enemies on the screen at once, like the arcade or even a Super Nintendo. It could only have like 3 guys on the screen. This can have like 3 people on the screen, but it can't have the big sprites. So you see here, looks very like small, cartoony looking. But I'm glad that they went in this style, because you obviously can't do in like realistic like look. Very fun game. I think there's 5 levels to it. You get different ending with each character you beat it with. I beat it with Cody, because he has like a fireball that helped me beat some of the enemies. You can also play as Guy, who's very fast. Cody's kind of average, and Hagar, which is like the wrestler, strong guy. Very fun game. You level up, and the more you level up, the bigger your life bar goes. I got up to, I think, the next to last level, so I didn't get to the highest level. But when you get to level 4, you have a special move where if you hit the attack button and hold over, you'll do like your special. So Cody has like a Hadouken fireball. Guy has like this kick roundhouse that'll spin, like cover some distance. And then Hagar has like a spinning clothesline. So you want to at least get to that level to get that, because that makes it a lot easier. It's not an overly difficult game, but there is some challenge to it. You can win extra continues on bonus stages by beating. In the bonus stages, you beat barrels, and the more barrels you get, you can either get a 1-up, an extra continue, or experience points. And what I mean by experience points is there's a low progress bar. When you get so many experience points, like 10 out of 10, you'll go to a next level, and your life will increase. Very fun game. It is on the Game Boy Advance. Had a port, Capcom Mega Mix. It was on there along with Strider NES, and I believe it's on the Wii U Virtual Console too. So if you want to play that, play it, you can play it here, play it on there, or the Game Boy Advance game. Expensive game to get. I think I paid $100 for this in 2015 or so. I don't know if it's gone up since then, but it's a fun game. And that's everything I beat for this month. So I'm happy that what I'm finding out is I'm not playing a lot of newer games on my Switch or lately because I've been playing a lot of older stuff, and that's saving me money, and I'm actually enjoying what I bought. And there's something to be said about these quick pick-up-and-play games from the 8 and 16-bit era where you don't have to sit down and invest tons of time to finish them. They're just easy to pick up and learn. You don't have all these convoluted control schemes or systems that you have to learn. You just pick them up and you're playing within a few minutes, and the gameplay hook and gameplay is what draws you in. So we'll see next month if I play some newer games. I think there are some newer games coming out that I want to play. I think there's one coming out next, or in the summer, in June for sure I have my eye on. I can't remember what it is though, but it's coming out for Switch. I wish I could remember, but anyway, we'll get to that when June runs around. So everybody have a great day, and I will see you next video. Bye.